It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Well, we're back with Glenn Boblitz as Janet has introduced him once again. And we are going down memory lane, it sounds like, based on the conversation you and I had just a moment ago.
Yeah, bringing back some of the older skills, including butchering and sorghum making, and all that kind of stuff, and sausage making. That's this time of year is when you're prepping for all of that, and all the deer hunters are prepping for their season by getting their rifles and their bows ready, right. And they're getting ready to do that. But they're taking all the animals to someone else to butcher now.
Right.
You know what beef prices are doing, and
sure, and
it's not going to stop. That's what I want people to know, that beef prices are not going to stop where they're at. We haven't even hit the high point yet, and it's because all the cattle have been sold off.
Sure.
Those are the cattle that breed to bring the next group of cattle in, and it's a continuing cycle. Well, that cycle was broke. So there's about a 2-year gap to even get another animal to market. And then it's another 18 months for that calf to become big enough to butcher. So you can see that there's a 3.5-year gap that's going to occur when you have this stoppage of the breeding programs.
Right.
Because a lot of these farmers go, wow, $5 a pound, sell them all.
Yeah, sure.
Well, what are you going to do next year for the cattle? And that's where we're hitting. So that's why all these beef prices are going up. I forget how many millions of pounds we're short. Short.
Right.
So what are they doing? Well, we'll beef up the pork industry, and we'll beef up the chicken industry, but you're talking about building new facilities to raise that amount of poundage, and that takes about 2 years also.
Sure.
So the next 2 years is going to be really bumpy for beef. So all you deer hunters, you better make sure you can hit your target this year, because you're going to need it.
Right.
Well, I've talked about it before, you having butchering, when I was a kid, and have done it my whole life. And you need to do this more, folks. And if you don't know how to butcher your own beef, your own deer, your own pig, whatever it is, you better get with somebody that does, because you're not going to be able to afford the beef. That's a fact. There's so few people that do this anymore, and mostly because of the equipment and facilities that you need to do it. All the farms used to have a cooler that you could hang your beef or your pig or whatever. It's not like that anymore. Those coolers died out 20 years ago. So we're left to the butcher shops. It costs you about $2 a pound to have something butchered.
Wow.
When you get your beef back or pork or whatever it is, that costs you $2 just to have it butchered. That's a huge chunk of money out of your budget. So if you got a 1,000-pound cow, and time you get it hanging on the hook and debone it, in a package, that process costs you about $2 a pound. With prices of beef now, you're going to have a hard time even coming close to what the stores are selling theirs for. So I'm not sure what the answer is there, because there's just not enough people and farms that do this on their own. Even the farmers that own the cattle don't do it anymore, which is just unheard of for me. All the farms that I grew up around, everybody butchered, and you're over there this weekend, or your little group was over on the Borner farm, and you just all pitched in. And there was a lot of activities like that, and that's where I'm kind of leading into with this. I purchased a 1941 sorghum mill. And you were talking about
Amherst County has the sorghum festival.
A sorghum fest. Sorghum's been around a long time. Do you know that? I mean, the Egyptians had sorghum.
Oh, wow.
And the corn and things, those were all developed out of the grasses, and the sorghums became part of it. So and there's multi-purpose to the sorghums. The sorghum has a very large seed head on it. And, if you watch your corn tassel out, well, instead of sorghum tasseling out, it has a very cone-shaped head on it. That doesn't spread out and just put out pollen. It actually, that's where the seeds are. Instead of corn, cob of corn on us corn stalks, these are all at the seed heads. So that was one purpose of the sorghum. The other was it has very large leaves that are sweet for animal feed. And the stalks are a little denser than corn, and it has a lot of juice in it. And they juice that using the sorghum mill. And they run it through a set of rollers. It squishes the juice out. So that was kind of the process to get the sorghum juice to make molasses. Which is a misnomer, actually. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the grain heads themselves, they've developed so many different varieties now, but one of them is a red and white variety that you can actually mill into flour. You can pop it like popcorn. Now, you're going to have small popcorns, but it will pop like popcorn. I didn't know that until just recently. But we use the seed heads for the typical type that I grow for animal feed, chicken feed. We're actually feeding some to the pigs now that it's mature. We go out and cut off, 20 or 30 of the heads and throw them over to the pigs, and that's just extra money that I don't have to spend. So it's a good sustainable item. Most sorghum is grown like that, like you would grow wheat or some other grain. Then there's the taller varieties, the sweeter varieties that grow much taller for juicing and the seed heads. So that's where I'm at. So I planted a bunch, probably about a half acre. And the type that I had grown, I wanted to try juicing. As soon as I found a mill somewhere, I was going to try to make syrup or molasses. So that's a good place to start right there, is my mill. Dug it out of an old barn. It was...
It's just by word of mouth you found it?
Yeah, well, yes, pretty much. This come out of Giles County. And out in southwest Virginia, old farm back in the mountains. I sent my brother-in-law out because he knows everybody over there.
That helps.
and he searched around for about a week. Because there were several farms over there that used to do it 25, 30 years ago. There's a Ruatan Center over there, Giles County Ruatans. They used to make sorghum syrup, and a couple of the old farmers would grow it and squish the juice out using the mill, and then they would do a boil off. A boil off is nothing more than a gigantic pan. This thing was probably 8-10 feet long. They built a pit to put this thing on, and jacked the pan up, leveled it up, and filled it up with probably 250 gallons of juice. And they would boil it off all day long. Now, this was a big event for that little place. Because they were going to sell the molasses. Now, molasses has been around a long time. I'd say in the 1850s was probably the big heyday of sorghum. And syrup was one of them because you couldn't get sugars. The sugar industry was mostly in the South and in other countries, Brazil. So that's how it kind of developed. And Appalachia area was the hotbed of that because it came out of Louisiana. Some of the people from that area brought it up. and the sorghum with it, and they started growing it for feed, the juice, the syrups, because you couldn't get the sugars. Well, then the Civil War broke out, and that kind of stopped that for a little while.
Yeah.
But the country was very poor, and the Appalachians were even poorer than that. So it was a way to generate income. It was a way to have a product that was kind of an all-in-one thing that you could feed. You could actually eat yourself, and that was very sustainable.
Right.
And that's right up our alley here. So that's one of the products that is very sustainable to grow. Fairly easy to grow, not many diseases to it, so it's a good item. So we got this mill, and we're going to try to make that.
Okay.
And as soon as, it'll probably won't be this year to do something with a large group, but I want to make sorghum up here, because I don't know of anybody other than, where'd you tell me again?
It was up in Amherst.
Amherst.
Yeah, and it's been a couple of years since I've been to it. I
haven't even heard that they did that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it was
that.
it was at the I believe they did it at one of the high schools, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it a church or that did it, or community center? What was it?
That's a great question, because it's been a couple 3 years ago since I've been to it.
Okay, so I mean it's past 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's something I want to do, because I like showing people what they could do as a community. We're just not doing it. And this goes back to the butchering thing. We're just not getting together and doing that. And that was a big deal back as a kid, was butchering time.
Right.
You know? There's a lot of products that come out, especially if you're talking about butchering hogs. You used about every piece of that hog. And so everybody got something out of it, not to mention you ate good when you did it.
Right.
I think that's probably what motivated me was, as a kid, I'll go work if you're going to feed me biscuits in the morning, But that's what they do.
And just for clarification, it's the Clifford Sorghum Festival.
Clifford Sorghum
So
Festival.
it's in Amherst County, celebrating the tradition, production, and cultural heritage of sorghum syrup. The festival typically features live music, local crafts, food vendors, and they are going to do it this year. 2025
How nice.
date has not been specified. Now they need to get it in there because that would be happening soon.
Absolutely.
It's let me see. It is tied in with the Clifford Rurton Club. So it does not have a date. I just typed it in while you were talking, just to make sure I was getting things correct there. But yeah, that's what.
Got to do it before the first frost.
Yeah, it says the has not been set. Typically, it's occurs in the fall, and we're right there at the doorstep of the fall. So hopefully, that's going to come out soon. Hopefully,
It's a huge process to make that.
to put it
sorghum.
together. Sure.
Yeah, it's people don't realize that you have to go out and strip all the leaves off the sorghum because you don't want it to taste grassy.
Right. Right.
And
yeah,
then,
it looked like when you would look at it, it looked like they were sticking corn stalks in the machine almost.
that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
But somebody has to go out there and strip all those off.
Right.
And it would be 3 or 4 of the kids get out there.
Right.
But they can only reach so high.
Sure.
And then you cut it off and cut the seed heads off and save that. That's how that was done.
Right.
But you have to do it before the first frost. If you don't, it crystallizes the sugar, changes the sugar compound.
Yeah.
And your syrup will come out grainy, and boy, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Sure.
So the whole process is just labor intensive, and and that's probably why it hasn't been done, because nobody wants to work no more.
True.
But when you do it, whoever's hosting this, because you got this nice big fire going and all that kind of stuff, they would always make pancakes, brown beans, biscuits.
Yeah.
And you would take some of last year's molasses and you'd put it over your biscuit, your pancakes, and,
Right.
Somebody always had some ham, country ham, or sausage. So if you get there early and you're the one help doing all this, they feed you good.
Yeah.
By lunchtime, they're boiling it off, and like I said, somebody is always going to bring a guitar. And this is back when we did it.
Little hoedown going on, huh?
It is just a good day.
Yeah.
Now, do you think people are missing that?
Oh my gosh, the community and yeah, because we're
Okay. Look how one spark has set off the Charlie Kirk thing.
Yeah, true.
And people are getting back to
Yeah.
their religious roots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all these things are sparking to make you go back to your original roots of what a community really is.
True.
We need this. We have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes a civilization.
Yeah.
If not, you won't be civil.
It's
Look
true.
around.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a hole in everybody's life that's trying to be filled with something.
Right.
And you should try to fill it with something good.
Right.
Whether it's helping your neighbor butcher or help somebody strip cane for sorghum. It doesn't matter what it is. A canning day. We've done canning days, have 15 people. Apple press, doing apple cider. People are so happy at those places. The whole thing just changes when people get together to do something good.
Yeah.
The bee festival that Bedford just had, there was like 3,200 people or something there. That's a lot of people looking at bees and talking about bees. But it's a community thing.
Yeah.
That's what's drawing these people in.
Right.
And it's a sweet subject. Ha
Sure.
ha. But you understand that people are just dying for it. They just want to do good things and just stay out of the chaos and carnival atmosphere, the plastic atmosphere of everything else.
Yeah.
They want something good in their life. And these kind of programs and the people are running, these are the good things. You'll remember your whole life. More importantly, your kids will.
Yeah.
And more importantly, that your grandkids will.
Yeah.
So you can bring them up in something that is good, wholesome, and
right.
good people working together. All the good ethics that you want in your children and grandchildren are there at these community events.
Right.
Now, a community event could be anything from, apple cider making to hog killing, all those kind of things.
Right.
Start one, do one. A simple canning session, during the summertime, people can, and the wife is in the house and she's canning a pot of beans. Well, why don't you bring some of your neighbors over and show them how you're doing it? All of a sudden you go, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like the camaraderie. And let's not leave the guys out.
Yeah.
The guys like to do this kind of stuff too. They won't admit it, to sit around and gab and talk while the sorghum is boiling off
Right.
or the cider is being pressed, but they all do it.
Sure.
Butchering days, traditional men have to be in on that because there's bull work to it. But I'm telling you, people, if you want quality of life, this is where you're going to get it.
Yeah.
You are not an island.
No.
You can't do this by yourself, all alone. It'll fade away, and you'll miss it. And you don't want to get back to the point in your life where you go, well, I'm now 65 years old and I didn't do none of that stuff. I remember when. Well, how about you remember because it was last year that you did it?
Right.
Plan it. Do something small, or dig it and find out somebody's going to do it, or motivate your little group to do it. That's what's happening with the Charlie Kirk thing.
Yeah.
That is a direct contact to the next person, and look how that's affected people. There was people that have joined hands and said, I don't want to do the angry anymore. I don't want to do the gaslighting. I don't want to hear about gaslighting. I don't want any of that anymore.
Right.
I want something good out of my life to look back on that says, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, there you are. There's where the gold is.
That's right.
Your gold is not the money. I mean, money is absolutely necessary because it's a good tool, but it's a poor master.
Yeah.
Your family, God, all of those things are what's really important, and it's showing up. So it might be a good thing to do this, regardless of what project you pick. So let's look a little closer, folks, and get a little more involved in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what it is. If you've got an idea, push for it. And even if it's just 3 people.
You always build on that.
You go, wow, that was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody says that who's ever been out to my farm and done one of my little projects, whether it's the apple butter, you know, and all that stuff, and butchering. They all go, what a great day.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the biscuits myself. My wife makes killer biscuits. So, you know, there is benefits to this. There's a little work, but there's benefits to this.
I got you.
I had a guy come out and saw up some logs for me that I cut down, and he had brought a portable mill.
Right.
And one of my buddies showed up over there, and, you know, he's a big husky guy, and we were pulling large planks off the mill, you know, tuba tens, you know, wet tuba tens. They were heavy.
Yeah.
And he jumped in there, grabbed a couple. Next thing you know, you would think he was weightlifting with them, you know, because he was pulling them so hard, so fast, stacking them all up, you know, and he was just getting into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you realize what you just did? He's like, I know, man, this was great. Now, this is not a guy that should be logging or running a mill.
Right.
But he jumped in, had a little pair of leather gloves I give him, and he just went at it. He said, like, I don't understand why I had such a good time.
Yeah.
Stacking logs, stacking lumber.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something primal about it to him, and it hit him in the heart. That made a difference to him. I'll guarantee he'll remember it his whole life.
Sure.
Same way with, you know, people are raising meat chickens now. Now, that's not one of my favorite things to do is to butcher chicken, and it's because of a childhood thing. It's that smell of wet feathers, you know. But regardless of that, you know, we still get together and do it. You know, I do a lot of things that are not my favorite. It's called work.
It's called work.
But there is more people doing that than what you would suspect either. So I think people doing it out of necessities. I think people are doing it you know, to help their neighbor or their little group. But they don't understand what they're getting out of it until afterwards. And they go, wow, we had such a good time. When have you heard people say that, you know? Everybody seems to be kind of angry and scared and ticked off, or, you know, just because the world throws so much crap at us.
Right.
Do something good.
Yeah.
Do something that is, you know, good for you, good for your community, sustainable.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the more you go towards sustainability, the more of these kind of projects and events that you're going to be participating in. And, you know, if you got a little family, all of a sudden you go, yeah, I can bring my kids to this. It is a good thing. You know, I think that's why.
Well, I mean, you expose children to things you never know what you may teach them, and they say, you know, that's what I want to do, I think.
Yes.
And if we never expose them to anything, I mean, video games, come on.
Yeah.
You know, I got to the next level. Okay, whoopee. I mean, that's fun. I get that. But that ain't going to put food on the table, bro.
Well, it's like a sugar rush. These games are. They're a sugar rush, and then it's gone. And then there's the crash.
Right.
And so you're always looking for the next sugar rush.
Right, exactly. That's why you can't get them away from the dang devices.
Well, these projects that I'm talking about, no matter what you're doing, they extend past the event.
Mm-hmm.
You're either looking for the next year's event, improving it, so you're occupied now with something good, headed towards a good goal: A, sustainability; B, building your community; C, doing things that are of God's intent.
Right.
To be good stewards of the earth, you know, everything about growing and food itself should be a godly thing.
Right.
You know, Jesus said, "Feed my sheep."
Feed my sheep. Said it 3 times.
Yes. So, you know, if you're feeding your family and your community, or just your little group, your extended family, you're doing exactly what you were commanded to do, and everything that goes along with it. I can't express how close you get to your family when you work together. How many families, especially teenagers, that will actually work together on some project around the home, around very few. But yet, I find if you drag these teenagers to a sorghum festival, to an apple butter festival, whatever it is, a bee festival, you know, they grumble the whole darn time until they get there.
Yeah.
And then they go, wow, that's cool, that's neat. And if you notice, they're not looking at their phone. It is amazing to me when kids stand around in a group, none of them are looking at each other, none of them are talking to each other, except through the phone, even though they're standing next to one another. There's something wrong there.
Yeah.
I don't want to see us degrade into that.
Right.
The anonymity of that phone, they withdraw within yourself. So when you go to have a conversation with one of these young kids, they don't know how to.
Right. They can't communicate.
It is
except
terrible.
with their finger and their texting.
It's a terrible thing. But when they come out and do this, you go, hey, crank this mill and watch the apples disappear and turn into juice. And, you know, no one wants to do it for hours on end because it'll wear you out. But, but they'll jump right in and do it because they've never seen it, never experienced it. The smells, the textures, the taste, all of that just triggers something that you can't get out of a phone.
Right, exactly.
You can't get that out of a phone. So if you want your family to be well-rounded, well-fed, well-climatized to a civilization, you better bring them out into civilization and do something other than that phone. That's just one aspect of it. For the adults, get away from that TV. Get away from the programming. If you want to get into the program, get with the program of community. Now, I bang on this a lot. It's where the good stuff is.
Yeah.
And you know, if all you're doing is chasing $1, what are you going to have at the end of it? You're going to have a couple dollars.
Yeah, that's right.
That is not the quality of life that you plan on when you were young. You said, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be part of something. Well, here we are. I've watched a lot of videos on the sorghum making process and all that kind of stuff recently, and what I noticed is they all start the morning, and I mean the crack of dawn, with a prayer.
Okay.
And a biscuit.
Yeah, that's a good combination right there, brother.
You got to give thanks before you get the biscuit. But there's something so earthy about that that we need to get back to.
Yeah.
We are not civil. The world is, well, the world definitely not civil, but just our country. How about just our county? How about just your community? I mean, how far down the road on each side of it do you know neighbors? And have you ever interacted with any of them?
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, shoot, we walked by every house because we walked everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
And, somebody'd be sitting on the porch, and sometimes they'd say, hey, come here.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your mama to come up because we're
Right.
going to. So as a kid, get to know the adults, and the adults get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get to messing around in town, that same adult would call your mama and say, that boy's out there messing around town. You better tell him to get home.
Right,
Get out.
right.
Stay away from that end of town. They know.
Right. They're trying,
yeah,
to protect you.
Well, exactly. So they give a darn about my mom, which means I get some of the benefit of it. Now, I didn't think of it as a benefit when I got ratted out by this old woman, but
Right.
but I knew she just didn't want me getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So we're missing that, and I think we need to get back to it pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting some hard times, but these aren't hard times when you go to one of these festivals or you do your butchering as a community or a little group. That's the stuff you're after.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention save you a ton of money.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But back to the sorghum. I next year, we'll mark this down in my little book here, and this is about the time that I'm going to do that. And what I'm looking for is the big evaporator pans.
Okay.
I can find the smaller ones, but I need one of the big ones. So if somebody out there has got some of these, shoot me a text, give me a call. So I need an evaporator pan. It's the same pans that they use for making maple syrup.
Right.
It's a pretty cool process of how it turns this green juice into a syrup. And most people go, oh, I don't like, molasses. It's bitter. It's all that. Well, molasses is a different process, actually. In fact, it has nothing to do with sorghum. Molasses comes from the sugarcane industry. It's the final product of all, once they've extracted most of the nice, clean sugar out of it, and you end up with this black tar. Still good.
Right.
But it's full of minerals. But making sorghum syrup is what you're actually making. And There's all different kinds of syrup. And I even thought about, tapping some of the maple trees that I have and run a couple batches But as soon as I get my evaporator pans, we'll give it a try, because I'll try about anything. But so that's where we're at. Do you know you can tap a walnut tree?
Mm-mm.
Or a hickory nut tree? I did not know that either. Up northern, let's say above Maryland to Pennsylvania, and a little farther north, maple syrup, that's a big deal. Actually, it's a big industry. But there's other trees you can tap as well. And one of them was walnut. I'm gonna search out and try a little walnut syrup.
Okay.
And see what it's like, because I got a couple walnut trees too. But yeah, it's a big deal. Over in Giles, there's an Amish community over there that put in 19,000 feet of plastic PEX line.
Uh-huh.
Instead of gathering sap in a bucket, they go higher up from the farm, and they take a hose, a piece of PEX, water pipe,
Right.
and put it on the end of the nipple that's drove into the tree.
Right.
And you go from tree to tree to tree, because you have sometimes a maple grove.
Right.
And they, it's pretty interesting, because they have to keep it kind of level so it flows water out of it, the juice,
Right.
down the hill and into a large vat.
Okay.
And then from that vat, it usually flows down to the maple house, which is where they do the evaporator. But they put in 19,000 feet. That is a horrendous
That's
amount.
a lot, yeah.
I think each maple tree, you get 12 gallons of juice out of one tree. Wow. Which makes a little over a gallon of syrup.
Yeah.
It's about 12 to 1 ratio. And
Wow.
they sell it in their little store down there.
Okay.
And it's not cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $25 a quart.
Wow. Holy cow.
But boy, is it good.
Yeah.
Same way with the sorghum syrup. It's not molasses really.
Right.
It's actually sorghum syrup, which is about the same consistency as a really thick maple syrup.
Okay.
It's usually a little thicker, a little more golden color, but boy, is it good. My dad wouldn't eat syrup, Aunt Jemima or
Right.
any of those pancake syrups. He wanted King syrup, which was sorghum syrup,
Okay.
and it was very thick. I remember as a kid, him eating that, but there's a lot of benefits to the sorghum syrup. The sorghum has all these minerals in it that you don't get in pancake syrup or that you would buy from the store. Most of that is corn syrup anyway. But
Yeah.
the minerals, you get a lot of iron and calcium and potassium. So all these minerals that you're getting are be able to absorb right into your system because they're colloidal. They're from a plant base, not a chemical base where they manufacture these vitamins. So there's a lot of benefit to that. A lot of the old people during the wintertime would eat a lot of sorghum because it keeps your immune system up,
Okay.
controls diabetes.
Interesting.
And you can't say it fixes anything or cures anything because the AMA will come after you, but it darn sure prevents a lot. How about we just say that? But so I'm starting to fall in love with the sorghum idea here.
Well, since you started talking about these pans, I've been looking online. Holy cow, there are so much places and equipment companies that sell, and of course some of them are tied to maple syrup equipment companies.
Most of them come out of the maple syrup industry.
But there's Sorghum Press on eBay. There's quite an industry of equipment.
It's
Roth,
been around
Sugar
a long
Bush.
Yeah, Sugar Bush is one of them.
Geez, Louise.
If you watch some of the videos,
It's not cheap either.
Oh no! Okay, well, stainless steel, food grade.
Yeah.
That tells you right there.
There's a flat pan for $440, 16 inch by 32.
Yeah, and the old people that I grew up with didn't have all the fancy gizmos
Right.
and the spout, the thermometer, and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy had a candy thermometer in his pocket, and he'd whip it out and put it in the
it in
sugar
there.
and say, "Okay, we're getting close."
Yeah.
And some of those that you were looking at, they all have the little spouts that you can get it out.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And there's quite a bit to it. But the old ones, they just had a giant pan. It looked like a giant dish pan.
Yeah.
It'd be 4 feet by 8 feet long, and they
How
just,
tall? 4 inches tall?
No, they were typically about 9 to 10
okay,
inches high.
yeah.
Because you evaporate. So now sorghum is the ratio that you get back can be as low as 5 to 1. 5 gallons, get 1 gallon back. That'd be a really good year.
Does it need to have a spout, or can you ladle it out? Or?
Yeah, most people they dipped it out with a big ladle.
Okay.
But to watch people do it like I seen it done, and then to watch how people are using the modern technology, it's definitely made a difference, made it easier and all that kind of stuff. But it was as primitive as it gets.
Yeah.
They actually used to use wooded side ones, and
really?
They would
Okay.
put a sheet of metal on the bottom. Sometimes it was even galvanized, which I'm thinking that wasn't very good. But they would sometimes get a sheet of stainless steel and nail it to a boxed frame.
Okay.
And you filled it up with water, and it would swell up and be liquid tight.
Right.
But it's whatever they had. Now,
Okay.
I don't ever remember eating any of that come out of those, but most of
Well,
them.
our
Most of them
mutual
were,
bee friend, I'm going to reach out to him. He knows somebody in the used kitchen
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to him. I thought I had the other guy's number, but I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he could find maybe a used piece of stainless that would have some sides. If it doesn't have to be pretty, he might be able to find you something.
Yeah, it's kind of a messy, sticky mess when you get done, you know, because it's sugar, and it's definitely work.
Yeah.
There's wood fired ones now. They have gas fired ones, and I had an old guy tell me, he said, we used gas, but it was just so inefficient because they were doing it for a church. They would sell the syrup. By the time they paid for all the gas it took to do that, it made it just not economical.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, if you got access to wood, good hardwoods, and that's how most people do it anyway.
So you could use a stainless pan and just put fire underneath it, you think?
Yeah, it's basically, you could make
stainless steel can take the heat.
Yes. A lot of the old guys would lay up 2 cinder block walls, about 24 inches high.
Okay.
And set this pan on them
on top,
and then just build a fire underneath.
Okay. Yeah.
And it would the fire would run out the end. They'd have a little chimney set up there of some type, you know. Some of them were very primitive. Some of them were, you know, really well done. Now they have, looks like a wood stove. They call it arch stove. It's just a really long stove, really long wood stove is all it really is. Makes it very efficient. You use a little less wood. I'm probably going to build my own arch style because, you know, I can. I'm lucky enough I got the skills and materials to do it with, but to buy them, they're pricey.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, they're pricey. You know, you can spend $5,000-6,000 for one of these setups. You got to sell a lot of syrup.
Yeah.
Although at $30 a quart.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very long, you know.
Yeah.
And I was saying about the ratio of liquid to end product is usually about 8 to 1 to 5 to 1. 5 to 1 would be almost unheard of anymore. But so you start out with 8 gallons of juice, you end up with 1 gallon of syrup. You know, so it's a lot of work to it.
Yeah.
And you're not making a ton of money, but that's not the point.
Right.
If you want to do it for a church, your labor's free. You know, the somebody in your little church group may grow that patch of sorghum, and it doesn't take a very big patch to do that. You know, about the same as a pretty good sized corn patch for our garden. At least the garden's my size anyway. You know, I'm not talking about just 2 rows here. You know, it's usually about 6 rows wide, 50, 60 feet long, and that would put out a lot of juice depending on the year. But that's my plan anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll use the whole plant. You know, that's what's so good here. You know, I fed even what I run through the mill there yesterday. Took it all the stalks that left over and just threw them right over to the pigs.
Right.
And the pigs went, wow, this is
this
sweet.
Is good stuff.
It's already pre-chewed. You know, it's been mashed. And they stayed and chewed on that stuff for hours.
Oh, yeah. They probably had a good old time.
And you know, that's anytime you can get free feed and put weight on an animal, that's a good day.
Yeah, for sure.
We threw the leaves and everything over from where we stripped it. They tore those up. The chickens were even out picking it in the stalks after we're done.
Yeah.
It has a real soft center core, and it's very easily digestible and has a high nutrition rate, you know, so all good. We just kept saving back the seed heads and putting them in a barrel, so that's extra feed, you know. Doesn't matter if I get an extra 100 pound of seed every time I run corn. That's $28 worth of good high quality seed that is not GMO.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, you know, mark this on your calendar next year. Said, did you screw around or did you actually get this done?
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I want.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Well,
all right,
good
that's
stuff,
about
man.
all I had for today.
Well, appreciate it. That sounds good. Glenn, we'll talk to you next time.
All right, thank you.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.